Hello and welcome, family, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life very much on your own terms. Remember, family, getting into your own narrative is the vehicle for you to enter the new reality, because you'll find that everything, literally everything you've been taught, you've been groomed to believe, you've been programmed to believe, is a lie, and the world is upside down and back to front. So you better start that journey early of discovering what the truth is about and kind of creating your own story. We acknowledge the ancestors. Thank you so much for being here with us at such a time as this. And, you know, all the guardian angels that move with us, we appreciate, love them so much. Of course, our ancestors travel in the wind, and we always honor them. Special shout out to our Patreon family. Thank you so much for supporting us on that platform. And of course, we do release daily content on there, so definitely consider joining us for as little as $2 a month. And let me just say this, family, because I keep getting these questions of why do the enlightened people, you know, why do all the spiritualists want us to donate to them? Because Babylon won't support us bringing them down. Babylon won't support us exposing their lies. And people always wonder, why isn't there a bigger alternative African voice? Because it doesn't make sense to most of the people to do what I'm doing, especially literally for free and on donations, family. I mean, I recently got an offer for this directorship, which would be 3-4 times what I'm paid to do this, because YouTube used to pay us. But we got demonetized because we wanted to share the truth of what is happening, the Wake Up Africa movement. And we paid dearly for that. But when we come to our people and we're like, support the movement, you guys don't do it. And yet the Mzungus do. If you look at the alternative information and research that's being done by the Mzungu fraternity and how much they support the Kim Irvinsons of this world and their voices, that's why you can see there's such an accelerated movement among themselves. And it's not just about me. Because the minute this stops being a viable option, of course I'm going to transition. And I feel like it's coming soon, family. To be honest, that's how I'm feeling. And I appreciate love those who have really sacrificed and dedicated themselves to join us on Patreon, to send us our love donations. We will still do programming for you. It will be more tailor-made because it's a smaller audience. But this is the nature of things, family. We have no global voice because we won't support it. Anyway, so it's like those who are awake, well and good, but there's millions who are deep asleep who won't have the opportunity to hear the truth or to have some of their mental chains broken because you won't support the Black African voices or the Black alternative voices. And it's not just about me, family. It's not just about me, but those are stories for other days. Very interesting things happening. I swear, the curse of Diana, as I keep saying. Now, after the whole not my king situation, the kind of blotted or dampened, or I don't know how you want to put it, how distorted or totally overrode the narrative of Charles becoming king, and all the things that are involved in that, with protesters getting arrested and, you know, freedom of speech now coming into question. There's renewed calls for the dismantling of the Commonwealth, and, you know, the death of Elizabeth has actually focused global attention on the British royal family and renewed criticism of the monarchy, both inside the divided kingdom and around in these Commonwealth nations, and, you know, especially the peoples colonized by Britain. And one of our brothers, Kenyan-American author Mukuma Ngugi, he says, you know, there's a degree of psychosis that you can go to another people's land, colonize them, and then expect them to honor you at the same time. And that is so true, family. He goes on to say that with the Queen Elizabeth's death, there needs to be a dismantling of the Commonwealth and a real reckoning with colonial abuses. There's also this lady, Caroline Atkins, family, please look her up. She's written some great books. She's a Harvard scholar, and she wrote some really great books on the Mau Mau rebellion and what the Queen's involvement. And she says, you know, It's unclear. Okay, so while it's unclear how much Elizabeth personally knew about concentration camps, torture, and other abuses in Kenya during her early reign, the monarchy must reckon with the legacy. Serious crimes happened on the Queen's imperial watch. In fact, listen to this. Oh my God, this was crazy. In fact, her picture hung in every detention camp in Kenya as detainees were beaten in order to exact their loyalty to the British Crown. And these are the people who our presidents honored with putting the flag at half mast. And while, there's countries like Kenya, Singapore, India, which were former colonies, who they have their own republic. So the Commonwealth is more like, Charles is the head of this organization that wants to deal with environment, whatever, development. It's taken that innocently, although it has nothing to do with that. This was actually the solution they came with initially to kind of help them to manage. They didn't want the system to collapse as quickly as it was looking like it was going to collapse. So I think Australia has now come forward and they actually want to have a referendum to see whether they will be leaving, whether the people are ready to leave the Commonwealth or to have now. They don't want Charles as the head of state. And even Antigua, because we always hear Charles talking of the realms. So basically, the realms are these nations which still have the British monarchy as their head of state. I think they're between 16 and 20, like Canada, Australia, a lot of Caribbean nations like Antigua and Barbuda, who now want to actually break free from that. And although, the British monarchy doesn't interfere, they can still come in and say, no, you can't have this law, no, you can't do that, no, you can't elect this person. So they've never been free. And one Commonwealth realm has announced its intentions, Antigua, and they said, this is not an act of hostility or any difference between Antigua and Barbuda and the monarchy. That's what the Gaston Brown, the Prime Minister, said. It is a final step to complete the circle of independence, to become a truly sovereign nation. And it's really interesting because once again, people are questioning this thing of the Commonwealth. And it's going to be interesting to see, because the amount of bile that has been shown family towards Charles. And you know what? Let me just put it like this. Charles and Andrew had the same friends. They have the same hobbies. They like the same things. And I almost feel like Andrew took the fall so that Charles could become king. If you get me, you get me. This had to do with someone called E and his islands. And there's too much truth out there, family. And you see, the Commonwealth, they try and say that, for I think it's 40 nations that have their own republic, they have their own laws, they have their own presidency, but still, their connection. You see, guys, we look at these things on too much of a surface level, instead of looking at the deep spiritual connotations of what the Commonwealth does, because it's still a market. And the main dealer in that market is the divided kingdom. So the it's like soft power that people aren't aware of. They moved from hard power where, some of them still have, the divided kingdom still has, armies in certain countries. You are our ancestors in the wind, as always, family. Not sure where this wind is coming from all of a sudden. As we were saying, so it's like there's too much truth about Charles. He's not a likable person. He has the curse of Diana, which even makes him more unlikable. And they've had this, they moved from, that's what I was saying, they moved from hard power to soft power. And the soft power was to convince everyone you're free, but we'll just be part of this commonwealth, to where we can trade, where we can have we can have an Olympic Games kind of situation among the Commonwealth Games and everything. But it was a way to save the British Empire. And what they've used the Commonwealth for is that the divided kingdom is still the primary trading partner of many of the Commonwealth nations. That's the kind of monopoly they created through the Commonwealth. But we're told, oh, it's just for climate change and development and education and so. No, it was a way to prevent the total and complete collapse of the British Empire. It was the way that they snuck in the Empire 2.0. And we've seen them now trying to increase again the influence on the power of the Commonwealth. But, the Queen's death, Queen, has really brought back these organizations that people are a part of without really thinking about it deeply. Because what the author like Mukumo Wangoge and many authors are arguing is that as long as we're part of these organizations, then we can never have an honest conversation with the divided kingdom and say, you did our people wrong. There's so much evidence of the torture and abuse. I mean, the Mau Mau are internationally known because of the craziness that the divided kingdom did to them. They're internationally known. Dedan Kimathi is an international hero because everyone knows, like, he was shot by the British and then they kept him alive with that bullet in his, in his chest or whatever, with that injury. That's why when you see him lying down, he was in the utmost pain. They almost like witnessed a slow death, and then they buried him, they threw his body God knows where. Probably took him back to the divided kingdom. But it's like we haven't been able to have those honest conversations because we're still part of the Commonwealth, and now it's back. It's back to the forefront, family. And these are some of the organizations that were eventually, as former colonized nations, that we're going to have to leave. And maybe the presidents who are there now don't have the kahunas or the goodwill from the public, because you could see how, there were still people in the Commonwealth who were emotional, people that look like you and me, who were more emotional than the British about the death of Elizabeth. It's crazy, family. But what that shows you is our people don't know their story. And that's why I keep saying, if you're a baller out there, create a channel that will inform our people of the story. The reason our people are in bondage is because they're ignorant. They don't know what has truly happened. It has not been shared with them. The truth has been hidden, and that's what gave Elizabeth absolute power. It's only recently that all these exposés have happened. And with things like WhatsApp, even when countries try and block certain information, they're going viral. So, a relative will send a story from the divided states to Kenya about what happened to the Mau Mau, how we had our own concentration camps and all this shocking stuff. That will go viral on WhatsApp and people will be informed. So if we don't get the truth to our people, family, then we should all just go into our silos and prepare for the transition and just say, they'll reincarnate in the next world. Because the war now is mental. It's not physical anymore. They can't come with their guns and their bombs to every single nation. But the way they keep everyone a prisoner is by not giving them the information. There's certain books that used to be banned, like this book here, Histories of the Hanged. And this other book here, the British Gulag in Kenya. You couldn't get these books in Kenya for a while, which told the truth of what happened to the Mau Mau. And it's not only the Mau Mau in Kenya who fought for independence. There are others. But their stories have not been written. It's now Mzungus who have come and written our stories for us, family. And I know there's a lot, the game is so imbalanced. Because guess who publishes most of the books? Guess who owns most of the publishing houses? I mean, it's not rocket science. Their people don't want to hear about how their people did us wrong. Those are the stories we need to tell our own people. And I find it so difficult sometimes because people reach out to me all the time telling me, please, where can I find a book about the lies of Christianity? Where can I find a book about the truth of our own spirituality? Where can I find books about his and her story? And I don't even know how to tell these people, most of them youth, they haven't been written yet. Or the ones that were written are now out of print. So we try and complicate the liberation of our people, family, when it's not really that complicated. It's just getting the information to themselves, and they will do what needs to be done then. But if you're not getting them the information, then we almost can't criticize them for being sad that the Queen died. Because some people have witnessed more brutality from their own presidents than from these, the colonizer. And because they don't know the story of their grandparents, it's just like, I have workers on my farm who are in their early 20s, and they're just like, what's all the fuss about? You know what I mean? Like when I was talking about how Elizabeth had died, they were like, oh yeah, they did all these, oh yeah, they did some terrible things to Huka, that's like their grandfather, and Shosho, which is grandmother. But, it's just like, it's so distant. And you see the thing that happened, and this, maybe let me know if it happened across in your nations as well, but in Kenya, a lot of the freedom fighters, they took the vow of silence because they didn't want to pass that information on, because they really believed that we were going to get independence and we were going to move back to our correct timeline. They didn't realize that they'd be betrayed and we'd go into a neo-colonial timeline, a fake timeline. And that the fact that they didn't share their truths did more damage because it refused to open the eyes of future generations to who their enemies were. And then Britain was romanticized. The young women saw the teachers with their cigarettes and their car and their independence, and they were like, I don't want to be a 20th wife when I can enter this British system and become my own independent woman and have my own job and everything. And even some struggles that were not ours, like women, African women, we were never inferior to our men, ever. That is a concept that came into play when we joined when we started thinking like the Mzungu. That's when now our women became disenfranchised, because the Mzungu man does not respect the Mzungu woman. To the Mzungu man, the Mzungu woman is down there. She's had to fight for everything, family. From the right to vote, even I don't know about the right to drive, but she's had to fight for all her rights. We had those rights, but we gave up those rights when we joined their system and we were cloned as their women. And that's why now is, the outpouring, how much Black Twitter has shocked the world. Even our own people were shocked because many people didn't have that information. And that's why it went even more viral, because it was like so many people were schooled about the terrible things Elizabeth did when she died. And they were able to see the information that was shared on Twitter, on social media, through WhatsApp. That's when people were like, oh my God, I didn't know this is what happened. And we can't even blame them, because they are authors of our stories. They are writers of our stories who are here. There are oracles who are here, but they're not getting the support they need, family. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Until next time, tuko pamoja.
wake up.
Wake up, 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 wake up.